Hey guys, Anthony Rosbottom here. Right now I'm going to ink up this pencil drawing I did a few days ago. Let's just get started and see where it takes us. I always draw right to left, being left-handed. Yeah, what I'm going to do is, what I usually do is establish light source by inking in the eye first. A sharp bit of rim lighting as well. Yeah, most eyes are usually spherical, so always a good part of a drawing or part of a character to establish first. When you complete the eye first, it's almost like the character's alive already. It sort of encourages you to carry on. And I'm stippling at the moment. Stippling is my main technique, to be fair, with ink. And what I'm trying to do is start lightly, because obviously with ink you can't easily go backwards. It's a bit like watercolours, I guess, or even acrylics. You know, you start with your lightest tones and build up. Yeah, so I'm just transitioning from light, specular highlight, to the dark bits of the eye, which, like some of my monsters, has a pair of sort of black currant eyes. Okay, happy with that for now. Like I say, once you've got the eye rendered, inked in, drawn, you have a guide then for how you add the shadows and the shading for the rest of the character. Now what I'm going to do, every time I do a drawing, I have an aim in mind, like, you know, what am I practicing with this drawing? Otherwise I'm drawing the same thing, similar subjects all the time and not really learning. See, already this highlight is a bit too low. I might minimise it. It probably wouldn't be there anyway. Yeah, that'll do. Sort of a lot of drawing is leaving accidents, and that sort of pinprick of white of paper colour I'm going to leave as a very, very tiny specular highlight. Okay. Now onto this cheekbone. Yeah, it's a cheekbone, yeah. Gotta say, this 0.1 pen I'm using is not the best. This is quite scratchy. That's okay, you sort of get a bit of organic shading feel with that. Because this line blends in, I'm sort of blending it at the start of a line. This eyelid. Now when I start drawing, I don't always know what the materials, you know, what the tone of every part of a character is going to contain. You know, what sort of lines that sort of start from nothing and, you know, sort of blend into the main shape. Yeah, at the moment this is all, what can you say, sort of scaffolding really. I mean, the drawing's there, the initial pencil drawing's there, but then most of the time you need to do another pass with the ink and just get an idea of how you're going to render the whole image. Okay, it's going to be quite dark in there. Again, just, you know, starting right to left because I'm left-handed, just reinforcing the original pencil drawing, deciding if any part of the pencil drawing underneath needs to change slightly. Okay. Now this subject matter isn't totally random. It's sort of like the front of a mutated dragonfly-esque creature. That's because this is basically a bit of informal concepting for a bit of character work I'm doing for a friend. So before I start, and that's in 3D by the way. So this is almost like a warm up. Get into the mood of mutated evil creatures, evil insects. What I'm also going to try and do is only use the black ink from here to here, and I can show you actually. I've got these sort of grey pens, so I've got my usual black, but I've got a dark grey and a light grey, like 0.1 and 0.5. And the idea there is I've used them before, but not successfully or not consistently. I mean, I haven't applied sort of grayscale ink drawing. I haven't done it in a consistent technique, so I'm going to try another technique where it's got, hopefully it will look like this head is coming out of fog almost. When I get to here, it's got to be mostly the light grey ink, then the middle grey ink in the middle, and then the black ink here. But I might embellish the eyes by using the grey inks to sort of reinforce the beadiness of the eyes. So I'm sort of not gonna put a lot of black ink this way past here. Let me reinforce those eyes now, using the middle sort of grey. Again, as I'm doing this, I don't know exactly what effect I'm going to get. I'm hoping it's going to work. No, it is funny drawing and talking. Props to the other artists that can do it very naturally. Yeah, I don't know, like, as you're drawing, sometimes you're like, oh, that's not exactly how I imagined it in my head. It's possible that this main eye is now too dark, but it's done now. You just carry on. A lot of time when I'm drawing, I'm like, yeah, that's not exactly how I wanted it, but maybe next time. And that's the way you got to think about it, there's always next time. There's always another drawing to do. Yeah, adding shading here where I think I'm going to make the head appear white, like sort of skull-like, bone-like, to contrast with the dark eyes. If this black pen lasts, I don't know if it's running out. I don't know if you other artists do this, but I end up going to a shop, buying pens when I've still got pens at home, and then I don't know. I have no idea how old this pen is. It could be, without exaggeration, it could be 10 years old. I don't know. This sort of septum area is in pitch black. Add some shading in here. Then I'm going to swap over to the 0.5. 0.5. Oh, yeah. Just so I don't waste all the ink on the 0.1. Better draftsmen than me will get the different line thicknesses as they're drawing the line. I tend to do very narrow lines and then go back over them if they need reinforcing with extra line width. So yeah, where the border is very dark. Okay, let's hope this 0.1 black pen has still got enough ink to carry on. Sorta. Getting the rim light there. But this area is away from the main light direction, so that's going to be quite dark. More light reaching it, but not. Yeah, I'd make a sort of seam down there. This is what I mean. When you're drawing, I've sort of changed the form of that just by adding a few dots. We're talking maybe 15 dots. It sort of changes the whole 3D form, how the 3D form's perceived. That's a funny thing, like, I do computer graphics for the day job, as some of you all know, and computer graphics, the promise of computer graphics was it would make it easier to make art, and it does if you want to see if you want to have make a character and see it from all sides, 3D graphics, CG is the way to do it. I find if you just need a still image, traditional drawing and sketching can be faster. I find this a bit hard to articulate, but this lower eyelid of the creature, I didn't know I had a vague idea in my head what it was going to look like, but it's only when you actually draw it and you put a couple of lines down and you think, oh yeah, and this is happening subconsciously. You're like, okay, that's looking good, and you keep adding lines, and then you're like, oh, I've accidentally arrived at something that's slightly different from what was in my head, but is still satisfying for me. So this lower eyelid now makes the creature look slightly sad instead of menacing and evil. Almost like the mutant creature from the Fly movie. The dog one, I mean. Yeah, make this crevice dark, no light going in there. A shadow under the eyelid. And again, I'm satisfied with how the eyelid looks, but now I'm mindful that just a couple of dots in a certain place could change the look of it all again. Yeah, a couple of strokes. That's what I like about drawing, is you're sort of discovering the final image as you go along. Now, I've just remembered, like, one of the drawbacks of drawing, though, is when you're drawing symmetrical creatures or fairly symmetrical creatures, is, I got carried away on this side, and then I'm like, we've got this cheekbone, or sort of side of the nose, this juts out quite a bit. So now I've got to shade this part to match the 3D form of this part that I've already drawn. So yeah, with symmetrical creatures, it's always you've always got to rein yourself in and not get carried away with one side, so that it's not too late to match the other side up. Very gradual fade from not much light glancing down at this tip, but not in shadow either. Yeah, so this needs to be quite dark, relatively dark here. The thing with 3D graphics is good, but if you're rendering in 3D graphics and you're not aware of where the light should be hitting your objects, then it's hard to troubleshoot and correct what your 3D scene, how it's looking. In my head, I'm literally attempting anyway. I'm trying to work like a computer program. I'm imagining rays of light coming down in the direction of the main light source, whether that be a sun or the lamp of a experimental laboratory in Area 51, whatever. And I'm just imagining where the light's, when it hits this surface, where is it going to go from there? Is it going to bounce? Is it going to absorb in a bit? So yeah, always trying to role play where the light rays go. Okay, this is a darkish area. Now, do I make that curved? Well, actually, you've also got to be mindful of secondary light bounces. So I haven't gone all the way to this. I haven't taken the shading all the way to the edge. So I'm imagining some light bouncing off the eyeball and into the side of this part of the face. Put some very subtle shading on this side. Okay, this top surface is wrapping around, so it's wrapping away from the light, so we're going to attempt to represent that. But I might have to stop recording, grab another one of these 0.1 black pens, because this does seem to be running out. We'll see how we go. Yeah, I don't know about this. Oh no, yeah, that could still work. Okay. What I'm worried about is this, from here to here is obviously the top of the head, and it should be in the middle. I'm just going to try and straighten out this line here so that it vaguely matches what this is doing. Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you sort of think, it is what it is. Like humans and animals, real animals aren't totally symmetrical. So sometimes you just got to hint that your creature has been in a bad fight or something. Or maybe this is soft tissue and he's thrown an expression, or she's thrown an expression. Don't want to assume the sex of this mutant dragonfly creature, especially as we're not looking at any genitals. Okay. So again, I'm trying to be gentle around that top eyelid, because I didn't want to lose the way it looked at the moment. Okay, I'm just gonna, it's not a wash, but I call it a wash of stippleness. Put that down, because what I want to do at this point is start blending into what will be the grey area that I draw with the grey pen. I do like my wrinkles. I'm drawing it, sort of gritting my teeth almost, because you can definitely overdo the wrinkles. And the chaos of this pen, because it's running out, it's not doing exactly everything I tell it to, which is fine in a way. Well, it's sort of fine 50% of the time. Because a pen that's running out of ink almost turns into a pencil, because you can start scrubbing and shading that way. Don't think we're quite there yet with this pen. Again, at the edge of this, I'm leaving a sliver of pure white to represent the bounce light that I imagine is going to come from this side. It took me a long time to work out that most good compositions have more than one light source. It's more effort to think about what two light sources are doing instead of one. So in the past I have been lazy, and well, not lazy, it depends. If it's a very quick sketch and you're just getting an idea down, then yeah, one light source is fine. It all depends what the picture you're drawing, what the purpose of the picture is. The purpose of this picture is just almost like a warm-up before I go into my 3D package and make something in 3D that's sort of similar to this. Not exactly the same, but could exist in the same universe, similar in tone. When I need to go dark, instead of stippling, placing one dot then another dot, I transition from one dot, from a series of dots, to a sort of scribbling, very tight scribbling. I could just use dots, but it gets very tedious and takes a long time. If you use pure stippling from a light tone to a dark tone, now I'm sort of lightly scribbling over existing dots, and it's sort of the dots connect to each other and make a darker tone. Okay, I'm going to be brave and make the teeth darker than the actual bony surround, I guess. I've got to make them attempt to make them shinier. Drawing lines up them, but leaving where the main light would hit. Some teeth more successful than others. Okay, just had to pause and change battery. I did end up finding a 0.03 and another 0.01, but yeah, I could have done with this at the start. There we go. And wait, I'm just going to go over what we've done so far just to add a bit more subtlety. Yeah, this should be a lot darker. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know when, it's early days for my YouTube channel. It'd be cool to know in the comments if you draw as well, if you're just looking, are you after tips, or, because I noticed some artists, they'll record themselves drawing and then they'll talk about their life instead of what's happening on the page. Don't mind doing that. Yeah, it's just hard to know when you start out on YouTube what people would like to see. Yeah, just making this a bit darker. Yay! Phone beep interruptions. Need to learn to put phone on silent while recording. Yeah, just darkening this side of the face because it would be a lot darker. Stippling away. This won't be pure white because it is facing away. Just curve away from the light just at the top. Really, it's only this shape and this shape that should be brightly lit. Someone did ask, why do you do small drawings all the time? I have nothing against drawing big. I enjoy it actually. It's a similar amount of effort than doing a small one.